Hey, it's Dom. I'm founder and program manager of the RippleX Fellowship Program. Welcome back to the Testimonials with some alumni fellows. Today we have Vaneezeh, who's one of our previous alumni. So do you want to give a quick introduction to yourself and which cohort you were a part of?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Vaneezeh. I'm in my final semester at the University of Toronto studying statistics, computer science, and business. I was in cohort 10 of the Ripple Fellowship, and that was around the time that I was exploring VC and kind of figuring out whether or not it was something I wanted to do. And I worked across different roles in corporate and startup, in product and data, and then eventually as an investment analyst in VC.
Awesome. What were some of the other kind of like funds that you worked at? Tell us some about your like VC experience. We'd love to hear about that more.
Yeah, so I started at Front Row Ventures, which was a student-led fund that invests in Canadian student-led tech companies, sector agnostic. So that was like pre-seed. That was my first dip into venture. I was with them for about a year and a half. And then around that time, I got my first like venture job last summer when I was with the Thomson Reuters venture fund. So they did enterprise investment at the Series A stage. It was really cool. I got to spend some time in New York and like work at like a big fund. So that was fun. And then while I was in my fall semester, I was working part-time at Overlooked Ventures, which was an emerging fund managers kind of fund that did health tech, humanity tech, and industries lacking innovation, particularly at the pre-seed and seed stage. But what made it super special was like the investments went into Overlooked Founders, which is the group that I like working with the most.
Awesome. And during your time at the RippleX Fellowship Program, like what was the most valuable part of that to you?
I think for me, a lot of it was the community. So the cohort was split into half founders, half people that want to go into venture. And it was really nice to be able to see the other side and how to think like an investor, but then also understand how founders are thinking and the types of problems that they're facing. I think that makes you a more valuable investor if you can understand and empathize with some of those challenges and figure out how you might help your founders navigate them. Like every call, it never felt like it was like a professional meeting. Like everyone came in and was just kind of like vibing with each other and bouncing ideas off each other. And I think that's a really special kind of connection. And to be able to foster that, especially over a Zoom call, is very rare and hard to do. But the fact that we could do it was really special.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually started the RippleX Fellowship Program as a fully remote program because I started it in like 2018, 2019 when I first started out at Ripple, but I had so many students from like different schools, but I had to do it virtually to accommodate that. And then it just happened so that it flowed into obviously what happened during COVID, for better or for worse. But yeah, no, like I love the call so much just because everyone just always has such good energy, such good questions, and everyone's just there to learn and have a good time. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Like that's also one of my favorite parts. So yeah, you said you've been a part of some other VC kind of like fellowships and VC programs for students. I would love to hear about how your experience with Ripple was different, or maybe some other kind of ways that we were able to add value to students in some ways that other programs maybe weren't able to.
So I actually really liked the way that the program content was structured. So how we did it was like we did the content on our own and then we talked about it biweekly, and everyone actually came prepared with questions. You know, you do programs like this and everyone's like, oh, come with questions, and no one says anything. But people asked good questions and they were able to answer each other's questions, which was really nice. But I really liked the content. It made sense in the way that it flowed. Like you start looking at market analysis, and then you just branch into finances, and like everything kind of links to everything else. And I found that it was different from other programs in the sense that I was actually actively practicing it. So even when you're like listening to founders within the cohort pitch their companies, you're thinking through all the modules that we've covered and kind of looking at it from that lens. And I found that it helped me really kind of fine tune some of those skills that I was looking to build. I think that was the biggest takeaway too, was like, it was very much, you got what you put into it, but everyone was there to put a lot into it. And so like as a collective, we all just got better and smarter, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I really agree with that. And especially if you have a lot of folks that are just really passionate and driven, it's contagious to all the other students that are a part of the program too. And you can really feel that in each of the cohorts. So I also would love to hear about how the Ripple ecosystem has helped you personally. How has it helped you kind of on your journey for finding different venture roles? Maybe I've also known that you've made a lot of friends throughout different cohorts and with different folks that have gone through the program and in the community, but maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's funny because when I was doing a lot of like student ecosystem stuff, like I would meet a lot of Ripple fellows who were like, oh, I went through the program too. And it's kind of like that instant connection, which is really nice. A lot of my closest friends actually, was like Naz, Eve, like founders and people that run the Ripple program are like people that have gone me through like kind of the ups and downs of my career over the past year. So like if I have a problem, it's like, oh, like I know, for example, like I can text Naz and she'll be able to like talk me through it. And so that's been really special in terms of helping me like find a career. I am going into venture post grad, and I'm really, really excited about that. And I do credit a lot of that to the experiences that I had in my undergrad that taught me how to kind of fine tune my skills and the way that I think, and also the way that I present myself. Like even the little things like we talked about in our sessions about how to kind of present yourself online and how to tweet about venture and how to build that brand, like all those things I've been able to do. And it's helped me scale a lot faster and kind of get to places, I think, quicker than I would have been able to had I not had that. And so I think personally, I have like some of my best friends are Ripple people. And then professionally also, like I'm where I want to be and where I hope to be, thanks to like a program like Ripple.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I've been really happy to see all of your progress throughout the past couple of years post-program. Yeah, going from like New York, starting different roles, and really just building your brand and voice for yourself in the ecosystem. It's been very, very great for me to see. And it's one of the reasons why I continue to do the program, because of people like you who are able to actually take the experiences and learnings from the program and scale it into something so much bigger than anything that I would ever imagine it being, and going into all these opportunities yourself. So yeah, congrats and kudos to all the amazing work that you've done so far. And we'll end off with, if you have any advice for future fellows or people applying to the program.
Yeah, so one thing I actually really liked about the application process was that it didn't matter whether or not you had exposure to VC, but it was like how passionate you were about it and whether or not you could show that you've kind of done the work to understand industry. So I remember like during my interview, Naz and I talked about women's health tech, and that was something that I was really passionate about, and she was also really passionate about. So we kind of riff off each other, and it ended up being more of a conversation than an actual interview. And I really liked that because it was kind of not contingent on whether or not you'd taken like an entrepreneurship class or started a company, but it was like people that were actually passionate about it did well in the interview process because they could kind of, their personality shone. And so that's my biggest piece of advice is like, think about the things that you actually care about and speak to those, whether or not they fit the Ripple thesis doesn't really matter. It's more like, can you speak to it? Can you show that you've done research into it? Have you looked at startups in the space? And what are you doing to kind of give yourself a leg up as a student in an industry that's like typically not super student friendly? Yeah.
No, great advice. Yeah, like that's exactly what we look for. It's not like which school you came from or like what experience you have, because when like I started out, I had none of those. I didn't go to Ivy League school. I didn't have VC experience. So what you can look at is people's exact work and passion for the tech and startup ecosystem. Like, have you proven that you're actually keen and passionate about it? Have you done your own research? You don't have to be a VC to be a VC. You can go look at companies online and kind of recommend which are your top like 3 to 5. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can do the job without having the job. So that's honestly what we look for in that process. So that's great feedback. So yeah, no, thank you so much for your time, Vaneezeh. It's great chatting with you again, and congrats on all the progress. And we're really excited to have you as an alumni now.
Thanks, Dom. I'm excited about it.
Cool.